Welcome back to the KDLT Sports Video Blog. This is Sports Director Mark Ovenden, also of Calling All Sports. I'm Zach Borg. We've left the bunker for a little bit. This is the newsroom of KDLT. Our sports office is right behind me. We don't get a chance to be out here too much because it might kind of distract from the people who are usually working in this newsroom, but we've got nice, comfortable chairs.
Everybody's gone. We can do whatever we want.
They would stare at us.
Make sure we put everybody's chairs back when we're done, that's all.
It's never stopped people before. Well, it has not been a good year for quarterbacks in this state so far. Obviously, we had Austin Sumner and Kevin Earl went down in week 1. USF lost their quarterback in week 2, although I believe he might have been actually back last week. And then this past week, we had Taryn Christion, the best prep quarterback in the state. I think that's a fair statement to make. One of the best of all time by the numbers. He breaks his ankle in Roosevelt's 35-27 President's Bowl loss. They've got to go with their backup now, although it is a soft part of the schedule, but still it's tough to see a player like Taryn go down. He's so exciting to watch, especially at the high school level.
Well, yeah, it is. It's really been a bad couple of weeks for John Stiglmeyer when you consider that he lost Austin Sumner and he lost his quarterback of the future to a broken ankle. You just hope with surgery that everything turns out fine, because Taryn is, he's just a gifted athlete in terms of his ability to throw, yes, but run, yes. And that's what makes him dangerous. Not sure in college he's going to be able to do quite as much running, but just a tremendous athlete, and he's been the guy, the signal caller, the guy in control for Roosevelt now for 3 years. So, but Jet Thune is a good athlete. He's not Taryn Christion, and people need to get over that and just be glad you've got somebody that's got as much talent as the backup quarterback that's ready to step in. He was going to be the quarterback next year anyway. He can throw, he can run, he's not as fast. He can't maybe throw quite as well, but he's got a good arm. I was out of practice the other day and watched him. I think the Riders are going to be fine. Kim Nelson's he wants the guys to remember that, we were the team that everybody thought was going to win the state title before the season even started. We've still got a good football team. So let's, as he said the other day when we talked, do the team thing. Let's rally around Jet Thune and see what we can get done. And I still think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Maybe not quite as much as they would have been with Taryn, but they're lucky to have a good backup quarterback.
And they could get him back toward the end of the playoffs too. It's actually a very soft stretch of schedule they're entering in now. I'm gonna have to call him the senator. I keep thinking of Jeff Thune when I think of John Thune now. I don't know if they're related or not, but
John's his uncle.
John is okay. I kind of thought that might be the case. So if he does well, we've got a nickname for him. He's the senator. No.
Sure, I like his name anyway, the way it is, Jet. I mean, what a great name.
Wow, that's a good point. So other than that, and obviously Lincoln was very.
Call him a senator.
I seem to call people whatever sticks, but whatever. That no one's complained yet, so until someone complains, I think I can get away with it. But other than Lincoln, who was obviously very impressive last week, that injury aside, what was maybe the most impressive team or performance you saw last week?
Boy, I don't know if one in particular sticks out. Like a couple of weeks ago, I said Brookings, because they had that game where they just ran all over Aberdeen Central, who turned around and beat Watertown by 20 points last week. So, who knows in high school football? Who knows? I'm just glad to see that Freeman has enough guys for their homecoming and they can play Corsica Stickney. We hope to have some highlights of that for you on Football Friday. It's hard for me to imagine a school that won 4 straight state titles and has had some tremendous teams, great players over the years, being down to 12 players for a 9-man schedule, and and then 2 of their guys get hurt. So I'm glad they're able to field a team and have a game on Friday night, but they got to do something about those numbers.
I'll say the team that impressed me most last week was Yankton, going to Brandon Valley, down 21 points. You just mentioned Brookings. We hear a lot about Brookings in 11AA. Yankton's there too, and we know they've been good, but when you go up to Brandon Valley with that offense, to get down, to spot them 21 points, to come back and win on the road in overtime, that was big. And I guess we get another. We'll start to see a little bit more about Brookings and Brandon Valley because they're both going to play each other this week, later tonight, as it will. Another game we'll have on Football Friday, and kind of the first real test for Brookings this season.
All right, I'm going to go with Howard. How's that?
Yeah. That was
no, because you already get Yankton. That's fine. That was our best game of the year so far. Most exciting game of the year so far for the Bucks, who didn't even have their head coach on the sideline. Arlen Lickness was sick, and it was an amazing come-from-behind win, and we were lucky enough to be there right at the end. I don't think anybody else had footage of that. Yeah, and Max stayed right until the bitter end, and we had highlights for you last Football Friday, and that was a great game. Brookings is entering a real rugged stretch of their schedule right now, so we're going to see how good they really are. I think they're really good, but they play Brandon Valley, Yankton, Lincoln, and I'm trying to think of who the other team is, but Harrisburg, I think, yeah. So they've got a real tough part of their schedule ahead of them, but I think they're very talented. If you try to stop Mikey Daniels, then they've got Gerald Maxwell, and they can throw the ball. I mean, they're a dangerous team.
Good defense, too, as well. I mean, they had that big defensive end who was just eating up Aberdeen a few weeks ago. Moving on to the college ranks, obviously last week, everything in full swing now with the NSIC teams. Augie had a heartbreaking loss. They'll try and get back on the horse at Northern State. Big week for USF as they host St. Cloud. They're 2-0 after wins over Bemidji and Crookston, but this is one of those perennial top three teams. SDSU is home for Oshkosh, which is not just a clothing line. That's a Division III school. And USD is also at home for Northern Arizona. You got Dakota State against Presentation, Northwestern against Dakota Wesleyan out in Mitchell. Some good kind of interstate matchups this week, or rivalry games, if you will.
I like the Dakota Wesleyan Northwestern game. I think that's going to be a good one. Francois Barneau has had, he's kind of gone under the radar. You know, they had Josh Endress, who got a lot of publicity, and Francois from Belle-Fourche hasn't really. And last year he led the country in rushing in NAIA ranks. And if they can keep giving him the ball and he can take the ball 30 times and gain 200 yards, which is kind of a ho-hum standard game for him, I think they can beat Northwestern on Saturday. That should be that's good. They almost beat them last year. They were way behind and rallied and got the ball, and they had the ball with a chance to win it right at the end and barely lost. So I think this is going to be a big game for Ross Simple's program in terms of they'd validate themselves a lot if they could win that game on Saturday.
They're up from 21st to 15th. This was the first poll to be updated during the regular season, so they're starting to open some eyes, and that'll certainly continue to do it. It's kind of tough for Barneau in this state, too, because you also got Zach Zenner up in Brookings. You got Tondrum out in Southwest. A lot of good running backs, and even now he still gets kind of lost in that mix. I'm very interested to see how USF does against St. Cloud, because if they can get to 3-0, you're in a really good position there. I mean, if they obviously have the goal of getting to the playoffs as well. This is a must-win for them on their home field.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, their two wins were games that they absolutely should have won, but this is going to be their first real test. St. Cloud's always got a good team, whether it's in the NCC back in the old days. They always had great teams there. So they're always going to be one of the top four teams, I think, in the NSIC. And this will be a good challenge for Jed's team, and we'll see how good they really are. Their defense was really good last week. I believe they scored 3 defensive touchdowns. You don't see that very often.
Very improved this year. We'll see how everything goes, and we'll be back to talk about it next week. So for now, from the KDLT newsroom, I'm Zach Borg. He's Mark Ovenden. Enjoy the games.
Have a good weekend.